I'm back with Pastor Mike Holland. Welcome, and we're continuing our conversation on communities, teams, groups, mags, basically people coming together with a common purpose of survival, whether that's, all kinds of survival, right? And Brother Mike has experience in these areas, differing than mine, more in depth in some areas. He's dealt with more people coming and going from his community in North Carolina, and he's had some really interesting insights that I kind of wanted to get logged on and not steal the credit from you, because I could have parroted your words that said, well, there's blah, blah, blah. So what kinds of people, well, I'll let you take it, because we have a couple ways we can go in this.
Generally, my experience has been, and like Pastor Fox, I sought wisdom and understanding from as many different sources as I could get, not always to perfection. But my observation as a dumb chicken farmer from North Carolina is I found there's three types of people. There's those people that work, and by work I mean they're going to come and they're going to constantly be looking to improve, contribute, and do something. They are workers. Those are the ones you want. There's also people that are coasters. They're going to come, and whatever you ask them to do, they will do it.
But only
if you ask. They have no initiative. And they're okay, but they're not ideal.
They're private.
And then you wind up with what's the most prevalent type in America that I have found, and they are just slackers. They're going to do nothing. You owe them something. They're not going to do this. I refuse to do that work. I'm above doing this. That's a job for so-and-so. I don't want to do it the way you want me to do it. Basically, they're going to take away. And so if you look at a sum game total in your community or your team or whatever your operation is, you're having people that are trying to contribute and build. Those which have no interest in building, they just want to sustain. They just want to sit. And then you have people that want to come and lie and destroy and murder. And so your group or your intent. And so you have to make sure that when those people are coming, it's important to ascertain their purpose, that what's motivating them to come. And that's not to say we don't receive people that have Pastor Dow straightway has this term that he used many years ago, and I like it, not a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. That's not a sole disqualifier.
Correct.
Because the attitude and the character of the person, but sometimes that's a good indicator. If they're coming to you because they have nothing, somehow they got to that have nothing stage. So you have to very carefully evaluate that and see if they're coming, things happen. Are they coming to work and build because now they've had nothing and they don't want to be there again? Are they coming because they've had nothing and now they want something and they'll coast to do what they need to do? Or are they coming because they've destroyed 15 other...
They burned 3 bridges.
Yeah, they've burned 3 bridges and now they're just walking across until they come to the next bridge.
And one thing that you mentioned is like the people who come who are, what do you call them, workers or doers? Workers. And you need to evaluate these people. That takes time.
Exactly.
Because our mutual friend and Pastor Dow, he has another phrase that I like, a new broom sweeps clean. Right? And so that, they first come on and they're like, yes, I'll do that for you. Hey, I'll get this. Hey, if you don't mind, I'm going to go chop
anything I can do.
Right. And it does that. But then over time and adversity and when people are tired and worn down or whatever, that's when you start seeing the true nature of people.
Yeah, my experience has been, and it's really easy to tell because those really hard-pushing, hard-charging workers are rare.
Right.
They're very rare.
Right.
And so when they come, pretty much when anybody has come to the community in North Carolina, they first, whatever, if you're going to do it, I'm with you. Well, most times that lasts for about 4 or 5 days, and then you get kind of a sideways comment. Man, Pastor Mike,
it's kind of hot to be out there.
You've been doing a lot. Do you do this all the time? Hey, and then I always say you don't have to. Just because I'm doing it, you do not have to help. But and then it'll kind of taper off. Generally, my experience being with workers is they don't want to be with you trying to do what you're doing if it doesn't require help. They're looking laterally to do other things that need to be done, and they don't need your eye on them to volunteer.
Right. Look at me,
so,
I'm patting a pole.
They'll go to my wife if I'm out and about and doing something, working on the project, and say, hey, I just finished A-B, and I know, Mike is busy doing something else.
Do you need the
what
water
is next?
up?
What is the next thing I can do? Different people, that new broom will sweep a long while for some, and some it'll drop right out. We've had people that come to the community, they've been there one day and said, I'm not working 3 or 4 hours a day like a dog. I'm like,
we work about 6 hours.
Yeah. Well, in fact, we don't work 3 or 4 hours a day.
You're right. You're not. We're gonna do 6.
We do them, somewhere 6, 8. It just depends on the day and what has to be done. And then you really have to have a plan in place. Through my experience, you have to have some very clear rules about these people. And what has really benefited us is we share ahead of time. Mm-hmm. These are the expectations. This is what you will be expected to do. And if you do not meet these expectations, you will have to rise to the expectation or go to bridge number 5, because we discussed they burned the first 3.
Right.
And you don't make it personal. These are just, this is the way we operate. And
there's the gate.
It saved us a lot of headache. And we went through that pain before we got those rules. Because when people are there and you're dealing with them individually, then you don't understand. My dad used to make me tote wood. I don't understand. Doesn't matter to me. But the wood has to be moved. So rules help clarify that, and you have to know what's motivating that person to come.
I think I say that. I've said that in videos here before. That there's really, in my experience, broadly speaking, 2 kinds of people going to community, seeking community, and it's those who are looking for community and everything community or team or whatever, but in my case I'm talking community, but I've also worked with teams. I just want to be part of a team. I want to contribute to the team, and I'm all about the team's purpose. There's other people who are running from that, whatever that is, bad ideas, bad choices, bad relationships, bad, and it's like, I've tried everything else, I might as well try this. Or I burned, like you said, the last 3 bridges, let's go see if I can maybe make this bridge last, but probably not. I'm already looking over there at that next bridge that I'm going to.
Exactly. A big motivating factor, a big thing to look at, or for me, a big factor for us is in North Carolina is we're dealing with people, we're dealing with flesh on earth, which has its own set of motivations and so forth, and we're also responsive to the Heavenly Father. Amen. And so that just adds levels of complication. You have people that are spiritually devoid, but they're physically able. And so you have to determine a level of resource that you're willing to dedicate to try to help them come to truth. I prefer those, actually, because, once they get around the Ruah, once they get around him, they will come to appreciate him or repelled by him, and they'll flee either way.
Right. Yeah.
The hard people are the ones that are, they profess a spiritual understanding, but they are lazy. They don't want to do anything.
It's too hot.
Those are hard because they get so spiritually minded and they won't do anything earthly, like make their own bed or anything. And those are hard to deal with because it's a sense of entitlement. And you become first, you're their rescuer because you've helped them.
Yeah, you told me that story.
And then the next thing you know, you're their oppressor because you're making them do something. And then you're their abuser because you have thrown them out.
I have seen this.
Because they've left. They leave.
Have seen this.
They leave.
Right.
You haven't abused them. We don't throw people out. I think we've had one person in the community. We have told him he had to leave. He was stealing, caught red-handed stealing, and I said you have to go.
Right.
Just one. Everybody else, your sin has to leave. You can abide, but the sin has to go. And that turns into we have expelled them.
Well, I guess we have to leave.
Then they have to leave. And so, again, you have to evaluate that and kind of justify at some point you're going to be participating in the laziness and the sloth. Because you have a lazy person in the camp.
That goes back to what you said I think it was in the last video about if you wait till the time of dire need, you're going to be less willing to tell that person to go.
Exactly.
When really that's probably the best thing that you have to do is invite them to leave or encourage them to leave or allow them to leave, whatever phraseology you want to use. But it's like, man, now I really kind of need this person, but do you? And we've talked about, we're not going there, I guess, too much in this video, about purity in the camp, holiness in the camp, set-apartness in the camp, cleanliness in the camp, and you got to get that other stuff
out. If
I
have to stay on a 24-hour watch by myself and keep chickens and take care of goats and keep order in my house, all the normal things we have to do, and I know I don't have enough people to stand to watch, I would prefer the person that may or may not be awake on watch versus the person that is not present, because he's not. Now that's the flesh. Mike would not prefer the guy that's not going to be there, because what that's going to give us is a false sense of security.
I was just going to say, I'd rather know what I'm dealing with.
I would rather deal with, okay, we're just going to have to hunker down, lock doors, and sleep lightly. But most people will take that bad choice, that half choice.
Right. And there are a lot of people who do that. I tell people I come from a special operations background, and I am quite comfortable with having only a very few very dedicated people, as opposed to a large group of people who are I'd rather have the people who are all in and there. Things to think about when you're forming your mag, your community, your team, your group, which you're going to do. Start early, evaluate your people, and realize that it takes time. All right, we'll see you out there.